Hi, thanks for coming along. Thank you for giving up your time on a Tuesday evening here. It's great to meet you all, albeit virtually. I'm sure after lockdown and everything, we're very used to doing stuff via Zoom and Teams and all the rest of it. I must admit, I much prefer doing the training face to face. At least when you're face to face, you get to pick up on body language and things like that. We do these on a regular basis, person to person, and it's much more intimate, and it's a little bit different. But equally, not everybody can get over to the clinic here on a Tuesday evening, for example, at 6:30. So through demand, we've decided to do some of these online. You've got your chat box over to one side. Now, this is all a bit strange because what I see here is completely different to what you see there. So I do apologise if there's some anomalies. If you've got any questions, please ask them. I might not be able to pick them up straight away. And if I don't, that's absolutely fine. Those of you that are watching this on a replay, then obviously you can't ask the questions live as others can, such as James and Sharon. Hello, James. Hello, Sharon. Quick roll call. Mark, I see we've got here, and Louise, Carol, David. Yeah, hello, David. Also, I mentioned David already. Sorry. Eve, Margaret, and Victoria. Thank you. Thank you for giving up your time. So if you've got any questions, guys, just please put them into the chat box. If I don't get back to you straight away, then that's absolutely fine. I'm not being rude or anything, but I will get back to you. It's just that my screen here is different to yours there, and I don't always get to see the messages. It's as simple as that. So my name's Chris. I run the Devon School of Hypnotherapy. Here's what we'll be talking about during the course of the evening. So this is very much an introduction to hypnotherapy. And what we'll be talking about, we'll be asking the question is who am I and what right have I got to be taking up your time, really, which is appreciated for you coming along. We'll be asking the question, what is hypnotherapy? Something a lot of hypnotherapists can't actually answer. We'll be working at how to test for suggestibility, and we'll be talking about what suggestibility is. We'll be talking about keeping it simple, because that's really, really important. Talk a little bit about Freud's topography of the mind. I'm sure most of you heard about Freud, Sigmund Freud. Different types of induction that are out there. Something called parts therapy. Parts therapy can really set you apart, if you like, head and shoulders above others. Talk about age regression therapy, the ABC of CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, how it ties in with hypnotherapy, and what to do if you want to take it further. So who am I, and what right have I got to present this? I started my working life. Actually, I started my working life as an apprentice with London Transport engineering. Hated every second of it with a passion. So I quickly left that, became a hod carrier out on building sites, bricklayer's labourer. From there, I retrained myself, became a bricklayer. So I still build things now. I quite enjoy it. Moved to Devon, got married, moved up to the Welsh borders, and where I fell in with some people that were working in the antiques industry. From there, I started picking up stuff and started dealing in antiques. Whilst all this was going on, my wife and my ex-wife and myself, we set up an animal rescue centre, and we built it and built it and built it and built it and grew it and grew it and grew it. And it was, in my opinion, the best in the area. It was certainly the biggest in the area. And then foot and mouth struck, and that's where this story really first starts. The whole foot and mouth coming in. Those of you remember foot and mouth, it was quite devastating. We were very near a hotspot. We couldn't have children, my ex and myself, but we had 3 goats that were in kid, and there's only a little way away from giving birth. I came down to Torquay for some football, came back, vets all over the place, and my wife, bless her, had found a blister on the hoof of one of the goats. phoned the vet, which is the sensible thing to do. Vet came out and said, look, I really don't think you've got it, but we need to make sure. Took some blood tests, phoned up London, and London just said destroy the lot. And it was devastating. And something broke, if you want, inside my wife. We got put in lockdown. So lockdowns are old hat for us. Pardon me, we weren't allowed off the property for a few weeks. When we did come back out, we got a letter from the Ministry of Agricultural, Farming and Fisheries, as they're called, saying, very sorry, you didn't have foot and mouth after all. Here's a cheque for £75 for your goats. And it was devastating. It was absolutely awful. We went to the GP because my wife wasn't well. I think is the easiest thing to say. He put her on some tablets called Seroxat. Seroxat is now banned in a lot of countries. It's banned for adolescents over here. It's an early SSRI, sort of Prozac type thing. Side effects could be quite horrendous. They then took her off this, put her onto something else, and again, something inside broke. Marriage didn't survive it, unfortunately. We both moved back to Torbay separately, and she was very, very ill. Bless her, she really wasn't too well at all. I was going through a living hell. Well, she was going through a living hell. My guilt levels were through the ceiling, as you can imagine. And of all the things that I looked into, hypnotherapy seemed to work most of all, because the stuff the NHS were doing, bless them, because they've been absolute heroes. However, the stuff the NHS were doing for my wife in that instance wasn't really working. So I looked at all sorts of different things, hypnotherapy being one of them. So I became a trainee. I went off on a weekend course, very similar to the weekend courses we'll be talking about later that I now run. Found out my boring North London voice had a use after all. So I became a trainee hypnotherapist. I qualified in September 2002. So at the time of speaking here, it's nearly 19 years. So I became a therapist, and my business quickly grew. Back then, it was akin to witch doctory for a lot of people. Wasn't really understood or heard. People didn't really understand it. There was an awful lot of mick taking, a lot of ignorance around the whole thing. Then I met my lovely partner Carol. We had a daughter together, Tori. So became a father. That was probably one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me in my life. And then in 2012, I became a trainer. I started running these courses. So it's been a little while now, and we refine them year by year to start off with. They might not have been as good as they are now, but we've refined them over the years. At the same time as that, I set up a clinic, the Devon Clinic. You might tell from my email address, Chris@Devon Clinic. We're in the process at the moment of applying to become a charity. We're a community interest company, so any profits that we make, we put back into the community by way of free or reduced price treatments. And a lot of our ex-students, they're still working with us now in the clinic. I'm a clinical supervisor for hypnotherapists. I've also trained as an equine facilitated therapist. That's horses helping people, which is an amazing thing to do. It's quite special. So moving on from that, moving away from yours truly, this bunch of letters on the screen in front of you, would you say it's a positive, or would you say it's a negative statement? So if you think it's a negative statement, in the chat bar, just put an A. If you think it's B, you can put a positive. And if you think it's C, it's absolutely gobbledygook. So off you go. This is the interactive bit. Yeah. So we got a few A's, got a B, I got a couple of A's and B's. Yeah, yeah. So Eve has said A and B. Yeah, cool. Okay, well, actually, it's all three. A, the negative. Hope is nowhere. That's pretty negative, isn't it? B, the positive. Hope is now here. And C, gobbledygook. Hope I snow here. When a client first mentioned that to me, it really threw me, made me chuckle. It did. So it's all three, and the whole thing with this, a lot of this is about helping the client, helping somebody that comes in to see you, to see the whole big picture. You know, all too often, unfortunately, people tend to see hope is nowhere, and they struggle to see hope is now here, or hope I snow here. So it's about seeing the whole big picture. So a question, pardon me, that a lot of hypnotherapists get asked and can't always answer, funnily enough. They say, oh, it's a relaxed state and all, but you don't have to be relaxed. You see people up on stage, they're running around like Mick Jagger, they're not relaxed. You have something that has an amp reaction when all your emotions suddenly burst out, they're not very relaxed. So what is hypnotherapy? According to the Oxford Dictionary, it's a kind of treatment that uses hypnosis to help with physical or emotional problems. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, it's the use of hypnosis to treat emotional problems. So basically, it's a talking therapy that's used in hypnosis. You know, both Oxford Dictionary, Cambridge Dictionary, quite right. It puts somebody into hypnosis and deal with these problems. It's basically a talking therapy that's used in hypnosis. But that brings on the next question. What is hypnosis? Is it this dude doing all this weirdy stuff with his eyes to some poor hapless victim? Well, that's what a lot of television stuff might portray. Yeah, I quite agree, Eve. It's the wrong impression. Gives the wrong impression. And this is where the dictionaries might sort of come a little bit away from my personal viewpoint. So the Cambridge Dictionary says it's a mental state like sleep. No, it's not. No, it's been proven. It doesn't do with sleep. In which a person's thoughts can be easily influenced by someone else under deep hypnosis. You remember the traumatic events of that night. Doesn't that sound amazing? Doesn't that sound like woo? Yeah, but does it have to be like that? It gives the impression that it's a control thing. The Oxford Dictionary says it's the induction of a state of consciousness in which a person apparently loses the power of voluntary action, is highly responsive to suggestion or direction. Its use in therapy, typically to recover suppressed memories or to allow modification of behaviour, has been revived but is still controversial. And again, that statement there, is it controversial? I don't think so. It's in nice guidelines. The person loses the power of voluntary action. No, they don't. Anyway, to me, it's the acceptance of a suggestion by the subconscious mind. The acceptance of a suggestion by the subconscious mind. So that brings on the next question. What is suggestion? Again, the Cambridge Dictionary says an idea, possible plan, an action that's mentioned. However, the way that I see it, if we give ourselves a suggestion and then we accept it, it's self-hypnosis. If we give ourselves a suggestion and we accept it, it's self-hypnosis. If someone else gives a suggestion and we accept it, it becomes hetero-hypnosis. So if we give ourselves a suggestion, it's self-hypnosis. If somebody else gives us that suggestion, it's hetero-hypnosis. And we're very good at self-hypnosis. It's just that we don't recognize it as self-hypnosis. It's talking to ourselves. How many people just put an A in the chat bar if at any point you've called yourself rubbish? I can't do this. I'm no good at that. Yeah, all of a sudden there's a fair few A's being put in the yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we all do it. No, it is part of who we are. Repetition is a very good way to imprint suggestion. So if we do a lot of stuff with victims of domestic abuse at the moment, and if the abuser, the perpetrator, is on and on and on all the time, that person can begin to accept that suggestion. Again, the biggest well, no, that's the wrong word. The biggest culprit of this, I suppose, in many ways, is ourselves. You know, we tell ourselves we can't do it. We're no good. We can't do it. We're no good. I can't do it. See, what's the point in trying? We easily accept these suggestions at times of heightened emotions. So when we're scared, when we're laughing, when we're crying, when we're in love, when we're angry, any time, when we're in pain, we can easily accept these suggestions. I had a client thought he was happily married. As far as he was concerned, he was happily married. Came home one day and his wife says, "Oh, I'm leaving you. I met someone else. And by the way, you're rubbish in bed." So all of a sudden, his emotions were through the roof. He had no problem after that getting a girlfriend, good-looking bloke, you know, young, fit, healthy. But the moment it came to anything in the bedroom, nothing. Because he had accepted that suggestion, and so his body responded. We reversed it. He's quite happy. I think he's married now again. And last I heard, everything was all right in that department. People ask if being open to suggestion is being gullible. No, not at all. There's no correlation whatsoever. Absolutely none. So, how do we test to see if somebody is open to suggestion? How do we know if somebody is open to suggestion? Now, this is the bit where it really tests my technology skills. So we're going to do something called the magnetic fingers. So I'm going to try to stop sharing my screen, which I think is that button there. And oh my word, I've just seen myself. Right, okay, got all my chins in there. Now, first thing to do, if you put your hands together like so, as if you're praying desperately, and raise up your front two fingers, okay, separate them about 1 inch, okay, close your eyes. And it's important that you close your eyes. Now, I know some of you won't do, but close your eyes down and imagine you got some very, very strong magnets between your fingers. Now, those magnets are going to start pulling your fingers closer and closer and closer together. And as those magnets get stronger, 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 they start pulling your fingers just closer, 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 closer together. That's right, just closer, 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 closer together. Okay. Open up your eyes again. Okay. So, some of you, your fingers will have gone in. I should imagine most of you, if you weren't cheating, your fingers would have gone in. Mine didn't. But that's because I had my eyes open, because I was cheating. And so my mind was overriding that suggestion. Now, there's a little bit, we'll come on, we'll talk about that in a minute. But the next thing to do is, let's see if we can make this work. Next thing to do is put your hands out. So, put your hands out in front of you, arm's length, unless you've got a problem with your shoulders. If you've got a problem with your shoulders, stop doing that now. Put your hands out in front of you like so, and turn your right hand palm upwards. Make sure they're both level. Close your eyes down. And again, it's important that you close your eyes down. And just imagine any way you can that you've got a very, very heavy book on the palm of your upturned hand. And just imagine that book is starting to get heavier and heavier and heavier. And as that book starts getting heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier, it's going to start dragging your hand just further, 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 further down. Okay. Now, same time as that, around the wrist, of your other hand, I wonder if you can imagine a helium balloon. I wonder if you can imagine your whole arm is full of helium. And that hand is going to start getting lighter, 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 lighter. That's right, just lighter, lighter, lighter. So one's getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and the other one's getting lighter, 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 lighter. So one hand is dragging down further, 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 further. The other one getting lighter, 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 lighter. That's right. Okay. And just open up your eyes and see where your hands are. Okay. Now, I got a lol from Carol. That's a good lol. So obviously something happened for you then, Carol. One more. And I'll explain everything that's going on in a minute. We'll come back to the screen share. But if you put your hands together like so, so again, your arms out straight, hands together. That's it. Again, if you've got problems with your shoulders, don't do this. Hands out together. That's, it's all very weird doing this in front of them. That's where they're going to finish, there or thereabouts. Open them up, I don't know, about 6 inches, something like that. Okay. And just imagine that you've got magnets on the inside of your palms. Close your eyes down and just imagine those magnets on the inside of the palms of your hands are going to start pulling your hands just closer and closer and closer. And as those magnets start getting stronger, 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 they can start pulling your hands just tighter, 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 tighter together. That's right. Just imagining those magnets just pulling in your hands just tighter, 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 tighter. That's it. Just getting stronger, 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 stronger. That's right. Those magnets just pulling in just closer, 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 closer together. That's right. That's right. Now, when we're doing this in a room, it's a bit different, but just open up your eyes and see where your hands are. And I'll come back to sharing this screen again. So, okie doke. So, let's just do this because it's all very weird because what you see is so different to what I see. So, this is your bit to get interactive. Hopefully, and I'm guessing, how many we got in the room? It says up here, we got 9 in the room. So I'm guessing 3 of you won't have responded too well. I'm also guessing that 3 of you responded very well and 3 in between, because it's about a third each way. I'm also guessing that most of you work with the magnetic fingers. So if your fingers, when we did that thing with the magnetic fingers, if your fingers began to move inwards, just type A in the chat box. That's right. We've got Jane, Sharon, David, Eve, Margaret, well, all of you by the look of it. Okay. A little bit of trickery there. I'll come on to in a minute. Now, the balloon and the book, the helium balloon and the book, so the upturned palm and the downturned palm. If your upturned hand dropped, put in an A. If both hands moved, put in a B. I haven't put it in here, but if nothing happened at all, type in a C. Okay, so a couple of A's, which is to be expected. Yeah, there's a B. Yeah, Louise B, Mark B. Yeah, Sharon B. Yeah, cool. And no C's. Okay. So we'll come on to that in a minute. And then we have the magnetic palms. So if you felt something between your palms, something weirdy there between the palms of your hands, put in an A. If your hands began to move inwards, put in a B. And if you felt something weirdy between your palms and your hands began to move inwards, put a C or an A and a B. I don't care. Okay, so we got an AB from Mark, an AB from Sharon, Victoria, just an A. Okay. So let me tell you what was happening. What was happening is the first one was a little bit of a trick. The first one, I was, well, there's no two ways about it. I was tricking you, because what happens, let's just stop sharing for a minute. What was happening is when your fingers are like that, we've got little tendons down the insides of our fingers, and these are going to want to pull your fingers together. Mine didn't though, but that's because I had my eyes open, and so my conscious mind overrode that little thing. Now, with the balloon and the book, this arm, if you think about it, your muscles are all twisted and everything. Gravity, your arm's out straight, so gravity is going to want your arm to go down. But when I do this one-to-one, people's arms are out there absolutely fine until the moment I mention a book, and then it starts dropping. What I was really looking for was any movement in that one coming up, even if it's just half an inch, because there's no physical reason whatsoever. There's no trickery. There's no physical reason whatsoever for that arm to go up. That's your noggin. That's your mind taking over your body. Then with this one, the first suggestion is that's where your hands are going to finish up. I told you straight away. That's where your hands are going to finish up. That was the suggestion. Then we went out to there, and then the next suggestion was you had these magnets pulling your hands in closer and closer and closer. Some of you, you're reporting that you felt that magnetic pull between your hands. Well, there was nothing there. That was your imagination. That was your imagination giving you a physical sensation. Some of your hands started coming together. It's much easier to have your hands out there physically than it is there, particularly for ladies, for obvious reasons. If you've got a jacket on, because when you're like that, you're pulling and pushing muscles. But when you're like that, it's much more relaxed. So what was happening is your subconscious mind was taking on those suggestions. Okay, does that make sense? If that kind of makes sense, just put an A in the chat bar just to humour me. So let me know you're still still awake. Okay, yeah, I've got a few A's in there. Oh, good. I haven't bored you all to death just yet. Okay, there's plenty of time. And we'll probably be going for another, I don't know, 20 minutes, something like that. So it's not a huge, great thing. When we do these one-to-one, it's normally a couple of hours, but this is a much more condensed version because it's online. So your subconscious mind was making these do things. It's your subconscious mind. So you weren't consciously doing it. It wasn't of your conscious mind, unless you were cheating. It was an unconscious thing, a subconscious thing. So what is the subconscious? Good question. So think about horse and rider. My wife and daughter have got horses. I just shovel. When the horse and the rider work together, and that's my daughter riding solo, I think that one was. When the horse and the rider work together, it's brilliant. It's absolutely great. They could do all sorts of things. But when the horse has got a mind of its own, the rider doesn't stand a chance. The rider doesn't stand. If that horse wants you off, it will get you off. It just will. And that's just the way it is. So if you think of the rider as your logical mind, your analytical, your conscious mind, and your horse as your emotional or your subconscious mind, if there's a battle between the two, either it's going to be a really, really tough ride or the horse is going to win. Okay? And it is an important thing to understand. The horse and the rider and the emotional mind are going to be so much stronger than the logical mind. Internet connection bad. Okay, guys, if at any point I'm working out the clinic at the moment, and I'm up on the third floor somewhere from our server that's down the bottom. So if the internet connection goes bad, refresh your page. You won't get kicked out or anything. Just refresh your page, and that should sort it. I do apologise. It's our internet. It's us, not you. Talking to the subconscious. When we talk to ourselves, we talked earlier about about self-hypnosis. Let's think about steamship. So you're in this steamship and you're down in the boiler room, and there you are, shoveling coal into the fire while some bloke's standing there having a fag watching you. So there you are, and the captain's at the helm. Go, right, quarter steam ahead, and this poor old bod here, he's putting a bit of coal in the fire. Then all of a sudden, the captain blows down his little whistle thing. Right, full steam ahead. And this dude at the back here has to start doing something, and they're shoveling more and more coal into the engine. And the fire's building up, and the ship's flying ahead. As far as they're concerned, these dudes down there, as far as they're concerned, they could be heading straight into the Isle of Wight, for all they know, because they just follow whatever they're doing. So again, look at your captain like the conscious mind, and the crew as a subconscious mind, and the crew will just do what is told. So if we keep calling ourselves names, guess what happens? If we call ourselves names and we begin to believe it in here, guess what happens? Yeah, we act it out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What would happen if we told ourselves, actually, I'm pretty good, but without that part saying, oh yeah, but? Good question. So when we don't trust ourselves, when we don't trust our gut feeling, when we don't trust our subconscious, or when we overthink things, how many overthinkers have we got in the room? Yeah, a few overthinkers going on. Okay, so think about an old galleon. Again, the captain's the conscious mind, the crew's the subconscious mind. And when they're all working together, fine, it's absolutely fine. So the captain will turn around and say, right, we're going to sail to the Bahamas because it's quite nice over there. And the crew say, aye, aye, captain. And off they go. And the captain will work out the course, work out how to get there. And she might turn around to the crew and say, okay, raise the main sail or whatever it is. I'm not very boaty orientated, and they'll do it, and they'll go there. If there's a storm coming, the captain might decide to navigate around it, and the crew will do as told, and everything will be fine. Let's just suppose the captain actually doesn't like the way the crew are behaving. Let's just suppose she doesn't like the way that they're climbing up the mast to look out the crow's nest, so she thinks she'll do that. And then she doesn't like the way that the guy's turning the steering wheel, so she'll do that as well. And then perhaps she doesn't like the way they're putting up the sail or scrubbing the decks or doing the washing and the cleaning and all the rest of it, and trying to do absolutely everything, not trusting the crew. Eventually, the captain's gonna go do lally. The captain's gonna not go do lally, but the captain's gonna go and have enough of it, and the crew's sitting there not trusting the captain, and the ship's going to go around in circles. Okay, I hope those kind of make sense. Just little ways that we can look at the conscious and the subconscious. And then we come on to Sigmund Freud. Are you still with us? Yeah, good. Half an hour in, you're still with us. That's good. Freud's topography of the mind. Sigmund Freud, a lot of his stuff was dismissed, but some of his stuff was accepted, or versions of some of his stuff was accepted. Now, one of the things that was accepted was a version of Freud's topography of the mind. So he talked about our conscious mind being 10% of our entire mind. Some people say we only use 10% of our brain. What they really mean is we're only aware of 10% of our mind. Below that, he talks about the preconscious. That's like stored knowledge, short-term memories, habits and things, short-term memories. Also links anything from the subconscious through to the conscious. Now, Freud was convinced that everything that on an unconscious or a subconscious level was really quite dark, violent motives, shameful experiences, irrational wishes, selfish needs, all these really quite dark things. But we now know there's more than just dark stuff on an unconscious level. There'll be quite good stuff as well. The thing that's of interest to us is, I've just been saying all that. The thing that's of interest to us is the bit that separates anything from the conscious to anything that's not the conscious. And we call it the critical faculty. And I see it like a guard on sentry duty, if you like, being very blokey. Friend or foe, I'll let you in or I won't. And in this case, rather than the person, it's thoughts. I'll let you in or I won't, based on my life experience. Now, most things that happen to us, we dump in a great big rubbish bin, but it's still there. You know, the theory is anything and everything that's ever happened to us gets stored in our subconscious mind. Most of it, as I said, gets put in a great big rubbish bin, but it's still there. Some things we see as being very true, and some things we see as being absolute rubbish. If I was to turn around to you and say, we're going to shut the clinic down for a week or a weekend or whatever to redecorate, you'd accept that, and it would go straight into your rubbish bin, I should imagine, in a subconscious level. If I was to turn around to you and say, we're going to shut the clinic down to redecorate because I'm so fed up with these bright pink walls, I'm trying to point, it's a bit weird, so fed up with these bright pink walls, you would reject that idea because your mind is going to turn around and say, they're not pink. What are you talking about? I don't know, it's this like a shade of wheat or something, or magnolia or something, I don't know. Because your life experience has told you that these walls aren't pink. I'll tell you a story, try and explain it a little bit more. It's very difficult over the internet because it's difficult to get the feedback. I had a client come in one time. I thought she was very, very pretty. Her background is she's part Asian, part Irish. She's brought up in Southern Ireland. She's the only girl of any colour in her school, let alone a village. Her dad was a bit of a bully. Her mum was quite submissive. Academically, she struggled at school. She was picked on. She was teased. She was racially abused. As soon as she could get out, she did. And she emigrated and moved over to England and moved to London, where she started doing some modelling. She fell in with a seedy bunch of people, and she got attacked after a photo shoot quite badly. It really wasn't pleasant at all. The reason she came to see me is that somebody told her that she was looking nice that day. She's looking pretty. She gave him a slap. Completely irrational. See, the thing is, for her, if anybody told her she was good at something, her subconscious mind, her critical faculty rejected that. And straight away, they're after something. They want something from me. Whereby, if anybody told her she was bad at something, or she'd take that on board. Oh, yes. Yeah, she'd accept that one, okay. Because that's the way her critical faculty was set up. So if it's rubbish, yeah, I'll accept it. If it's good, no, I'll reject it. So we had to delve past this critical faculty. We had to get past that barrier. And the way we get past that barrier is an induction, a hypnotic induction. So how do we bypass that critical faculty? We access the subconscious mind. So 3 types of induction. And again, I'm going to stop screen sharing here just for a moment. There we go. Oh, it's always scary when that happens. So think about a conker. There's the nut of the conker, and there's the shell surrounding the nut. So the first type of induction is known as first of all, there's thousands upon thousands of inductions out there, but they're based on 3 types. That's all, 3 types, and everything else is a variation of one or more of these types of induction. So there's the nut of the conker, there's the shell around the outside. The nut is our subconscious mind, the shell is our conscious mind. So a progressive induction effectively bores the living daylights off the conscious mind, and it leaves the subconscious bare. I've been told I'm very good at that one. Then imagine there's the nut, there's the shell. There's a rapid induction. That's confusional techniques. So the conscious mind goes, what are you on about? I'm very good at that one, apparently. And it confuses the conscious mind, but it leaves the subconscious bare. Then you got the rapid or the snap, the snap or the instant induction. This is the one that stage hypnotists quite like because it's dramatic. So there's the nut, there's the shell, and you do something to shock the subconscious mind. And whoa, for fight or flight protection. Bang, I need to be there. And then you got half a second to go or so to get in there. So they're the three main types of induction. We teach them all during the course of our training weekend. We'll get you to do all of them. And I'll talk about the training weekend a little bit later. There's a little offer coming up, so you can get some money off if you are interested. Just as a thank you for watching this. So there's a progressive or relaxation process. There's the rapid or the confusional techniques, and there's the instant or the snap, which is shock. Most hypnotherapists focus on relaxation. Do you know why? Because it's easy. Because if you're doing, I do the instant snap inductions, but I don't do them first time I see a client. I quite often do the rapid. But the reason most hypnotherapists don't do these, the rapid or the snap induction, is what happens if it doesn't work. We test to see if somebody's in hypnosis. Most hypnotherapists don't. What happens if they're not in hypnosis? Or they look like they look like they're relaxed. They must be in hypnosis. No. I get my students quite often to write just a bit of homework, just to write a short piece. Why hypnosis isn't relaxation. And it can be a nice byproduct, but it's not relaxation. So we can access the subconscious mind, and we can get somebody in a state of hypnosis. What do we do then? Do we leave them? Have a cup of tea? Well, think about an operation. When somebody has an operation, the first thing the surgeon will do is they'll cut them open. They'll make an incision. That's the hypnotic induction. That's getting into the subconscious mind. Then they do the therapy, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy, whether it's an age regression, whether it's ego state therapy or parts therapy. We do the therapy. Then we sew up the wound. And that's the really positive, strong count out. That's making sure you finish the session really, really well. I used to work in the prisons, and there was a team of counsellors there doing their stuff. Quite often placements that do so many hours voluntary, and some of them were brilliant. I'm not knocking counsellors or anything. Equally, some of them would leave these eyes wide open. Absolutely raw. I remember one woman say, "Oh, I picked off a scab today." No, you can do the stuff you need to do, pack it all back up, seal it, rather than leaving it raw, in my opinion. So some of the favoured techniques that we talk about in the course, and we do lots and lots of different stuff. Parts therapy. Parts and therapy will put you head and shoulders above others. There's no two ways about it. Parts therapy has been about for a long, long while. There's something called Gestalt empty chair therapy. This is similar, but without the embarrassment. If you think about a large company, at the top, you got the chief exec, just wants the company to run well. Then down below, you got IT. They want technical geniuses. You got marketing, sales, production. Then you got HR. HR remember things the way they used to be years ago, and they know that old style of working works. They just know it. So, sorry, flashing through the screens. I'm not great at doing these things. So let's just suppose the chief exec turns around and says, "Right then, ladies and gents, this year we want to reach this level of profit. We're all a team. We're all together. Let's do it. Yay. And they're all fired up and off they go. So the IT department, they decide that what they need to do is they need to get some technical geniuses. They need to get the best software developers the world has ever found, and they're going to make this thing, and all you got to do is blink at it and it'll do the accounts for the year. Fantastic. They're going to get computer literate accountants, software engineers, the whole lot. And it's going to help the company, which makes perfect sense. HR, on the other hand, well, perhaps they remember back to Black Monday when all the computers in the city crashed or got hacked into. Perhaps they've heard about phishing and spam and people losing people's data on CDs on buses and things like that. Pardon me. So if they employ anybody, they're only going to employ anybody that does things the old-fashioned way. Writes stuff in a book, puts it in a fireproof safe at night. And anybody can type. Oh, they're dangerous. We don't want any of them. So straight away, there's that internal conflict going on. Chief exec say, well, what's going on? And they might get HR into a room and say, right, guys, come on. It's 2021. You know, you better get on with it. And they go, ooh, all right. And they'll try. But something might happen to them or the outside world. They say, see, we was right all along. And they get more stuck in their ways. If the chief exec was a bit more forward thinking, they might get the head of HR and the head of IT into a room together. And they might be able to turn around and say, okay, HR, you explain why these things are so brilliant, why these things are so dangerous. IT, you explain why computers are so fantastic. And HR would say, well, about Black Monday? What about that then? And IT would say, look, we weren't even born. You know, it can't happen now. And HR would say, all right, then what about my brother's, dog's, sister's, boyfriend's, cousin got their bank account hacked into? And the IT lot might say, well, look, they didn't change your password for 10 years. As long as you do this, 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 and this, it will be fine. And eventually they can work together. HR will become appeased. IT might have to make a small concession now and again, but basically we're getting HR on board and they can work together and everything's absolutely fine. Now that model there we can put into Freud's topography of the mind. So a conscious mind is like the chief exec. And a part of us wants to do something. A part of us says, do you know what? I want to lose 2 stone. I want to shed 2 stone. And a part of us saying, yeah, but do you know what? I really like cheese and biscuits. I do. And crisps. Yeah. And sticky toffee pudding. So the chief exec doesn't know why the workforce aren't doing what they're supposed to do. You know, completely unaware of it all. So what we can do is we can access these different parts of our psyche. You know, it's estimated that we wear about 16 different hats during the course of a day. So you're different watching this here now to how you are when you're at work, or when you're down the pub with your friends when we're allowed, or when you're out gardening, whatever it might be. We're all different people at different times. We're different when we're stressed to when we're calm. We're different when we're having a fag to when we're deciding to quit. And we can access these different parts of our psyche. Now, it also might go right the way back to conditioning that's been stored in us for all those years, but is still having an influence over us. And if that is the case, we can use something called age regression therapy. So when we're young, we might react in a certain way in a particular situation. And the mind loves marrying up an emotion with a trigger. So I'll give you an example. Myself, years ago when I was up in Hereford, I ran a football team, and I decided to do an end of season do. And I said to the lad, 2 o'clock in the pub, and I'd arranged for a quiz and food, and I think it was a disco and all sorts of stuff going on. And it came to 2:05, and there's only some of them there, and I lost it. Oh, effing this, effing that. And I remember driving back, and my knuckles were white. Oh, how dare they? And I knew that I was being completely illogical. Got in, had a drink. This is before mobile phones were popular. Had another drink. So now I'm over the limit. And the landline went, "Fleety, where are you?" And they'd all been in the pub next door. And they bought me a bottle of champagne, and they had a great time. And I was stuck miles away. Because what happened with me, I found out when I started doing my training, is that it went right the way back to when I was really small. And I had a birthday party and nobody showed up. So I behaved like a 5-year-old who had a birthday party that nobody showed up for. Fast forward 30 years, I regressed back to that 5-year-old. Yeah. How many people, just put an A or say me, have behaved like a 5-year-old? Yeah. Yeah, some very quick answers coming in there. Yeah, we do. Because we respond the same way now as we did if there's a similar trigger. Now, as it turns out for me, I've asked my parents about this years ago, and it's not that nobody turned up, but there's one person in particular wanted to turn up and they didn't, and my 5-year-old mind exaggerated it all, and so I behaved that certain way. And we discovered this when I was doing my training. We did some age regression. But when we can understand in here that was then and this is now, all of a sudden we begin to release that trigger. We begin to release that reaction. And we can also combine this with CBT. So I trained as a cognitive behavioural hypnotherapist all those years ago. The school's been sold now. A guy called Donald Robertson, who now does a lot of stuff to do with stoicism, moved over to Canada last I heard. So cognitive behavioural therapy combined with hypnotherapy becomes cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy. Now, this isn't something I specialise in, but it is something that we teach. And it is something that I talk about with my clients on a regular basis. So I don't do the whole thing of it, but I do certain parts. And one of the things we talk about is the ABC of CBT. So A is the activating event. It's a trigger. So come back to that story that I was talking about. The trigger for me was people not being there at 2 o'clock. My belief was that they didn't want me. They didn't want to turn up. There was other stuff going on. I was being shunned, ignored, and all the rest of it. The consequence, poof, lost it. If I'd have thought rationally, as my wife did when I got home, I would have started arguing against that old belief structure. I'd begin disputing it. That's the D. And saying, well, how true is it? If they didn't want to have anything to do with you, they wouldn't be playing football for you for the last 4 years or whatever it was. If they didn't want anything to do with you, why'd they agree to go for a drink? Could it be they was in the pub next door buying you a bottle of champagne? Which is what was happening. So if I'd have began to look at it rationally on a logical level, then all of a sudden, the effect of that trigger and people not being there, combined with my new way of thinking about it, would have calmed everything right the way down. Yeah, it calmed everything right the way down. When we can begin to let our horse understand, our emotional mind understand, and feed in those disputes based on fact, based on logic, based on positive suggestions, all of a sudden in here, it calms everything down. And the beauty of this, everything that's in D, where we're disputing our old belief structures, all that stuff in D, that's your client telling you what to tell them, what to tell their horse. It's great. Fantastic. But we do a whole module on cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy. So in hypnosis, we help the horse to accept that new way of looking at it. And I think I told you I was very good at this. I've pressed a button and I've disappeared off of my screen. I don't know if I'm your screen or not. I meant to press a completely different button. But this is the good bit. This is where we can explain what happens next if you want to take it in further, if it's been an interest to you, and if you want to find out a little bit more, then what happens next. Hopefully, I'll keep pressing buttons. I might appear back on your screen again. I'm trying to get up a discount code for you, but this discount code is DSH10. And what you can do is you can put that into the Eventbrite thing, which we'll send you later, and that will give you a £10 discount as a thank you for watching this so far. So we have a certification weekend coming up on the 11th, 12th September. Dependent on COVID restrictions, well, the latest government advice is that we will carry on as normal. The place where it's set out, which is the Jury's Inn in Exeter, is very COVID safe, very COVID secure. We might even have the entire ground floor just to ourselves. It's quite nice there. There's unlimited teas and coffees. We've struck a deal with a hotel, so the parking over the road, if you book it through the hotel, is £9 for the entire day, and we will pay the first day for you. So essentially the parking for the weekend will work out at £4.50 a day, because we'll pay one day, you pay the other day. So this doubles up as the module 1 of the full diploma. See it as a try before you buy, because what we do is we see how you get on. You get a chance to look at us, we get a chance to look at you, and then before the next module we'll have a conversation. Places are limited, and we'll have a conversation, and just to see whether you think you're a good fit, whether we think you're a good fit, answer any questions that you might have. So what we'll be doing, you'll be learning. There's thousands of different inductions out there, like I say, but they're all based on the 3 main types. There's the progressive, as we mentioned earlier, the rapid, and the instant induction. And we'll teach you all 3 of those over the course of the weekend. We do concentrate mainly on the rapid, because in some instances it's quicker than the instant, which makes much more sense when we're explaining it. We'll teach you what hypnotherapy can and can't be used for, because it's not a panacea. You can't use it for absolutely everything, but you can use it for an awful lot of stuff. Learn about ab reactions. Ab reactions are when somebody's emotions are quite close to the surface, and then they get into that peculiar state called hypnosis, and boomf, you can get high emotions coming out. You can get lots of tears. It's actually, as you go through your training, you realize it's actually a gift, because it enables you to get right the way back to the root cause of that. But at the moment, we teach you how to deal with it in the first instance. We learn about contraindications. So contraindications is people that you can't work with. You know, there's certain mental states, certain types of people that you just can't work with, and it's as much for your safety as it is for theirs as well. Really important, learning how to terminate the trance successfully. You know, it's something that a lot of people don't always focus too much on, but it's really important to get that person out fully. There is a £65 deposit, and then a further £130 to pay a week before the event. Payment options are available. Now, I'll keep pressing buttons. Hopefully you've got this link popped up, because I'm still not on your screen. I don't know what's going on. But on the Eventbrite thing, and we will email you after this in case I can't get any buttons working. But on the Eventbrite thing, there is a code that you can use. When you log on, it asks you if you want to hit a code, or in fact, I've got all that wrong. I can send you the link that has got the code already embedded in it. So there's a £10 discount on your deposit if you want to use it. And if you can make a one-off payment of £165, then there's the £30 deposit, and that will, either way will secure your place, because places are limited. And again, with the emails we send you later, if you did want to do that one-off payment, we can give you details of how to do that rather than do the deposit via Eventbrite. It all depends on your own circumstances. What happens after that? Well, after that, you got the full diploma. And it's fully accredited by the General Hypnotherapy Standards Council and the General Hypnotherapy Register. It means that you're able to join the Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council, the CNHC. The courses will run every second weekend, roughly, for a further 9 months after that. Having said that, there are a couple of anomalies. We'll run through the dates in September. So, for example, in December, because obviously Christmas and all the rest of it, I think Christmas falls on a Saturday this year. In December, we'll be training on the 4th and the 5th, so the first weekend of the month rather than the second weekend of the month. But we can run through the dates properly. You'll learn the major techniques, things like parts therapy, age regression, stuff that, and I mustn't diss my competitors, but stuff that some competitors don't even talk about, and others charge you extra to learn. Although it is a hypnotherapy course, you will be learning some other techniques such as NLP, CBT, NLP neuro-linguistic programming, CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, TA is transactional analysis, and TIR is traumatic incident reduction. And you can meld them in with your hypnotherapy, because as far as the client is concerned, they don't care what you use so long as they get better. The different things that we'll learn, that won't mean a lot to you, moment walking the path, coping to mastery, but that we'll be doing things like smoking cessation, which is probably going to get replaced this year with just addictions in general, weight loss and addictions in general. You say it really glibly. There is a lot to it, but we'll be covering it, but not in complete depth. We'll be talking about script writing, recording MP3s so you can sell stuff off your website, working online so you're not limited just your area. You can go any English speaking nation, really. There'll be stuff about marketing and admin, setting up a business, because for some people it's the first time they've gone self-employed. We thoroughly recommend that you don't do what I did, which is just hold your nose and jump in. We do recommend that you sort of ease yourself into this slowly, but a couple of 3 clients a week, and for a lot of people that's a day's wages just for a couple of 3 hours. We'll ask you to work with case studies. If you're struggling, we can help you find case studies, and if you miss any modules or any days, then there is the ability to catch up with them with a different cohort. The full cost of the certificate course is 2450. You had already paid your money for the certificate course, so that gets taken off. And we do offer payment options, which are interest free over 10, 12, or 15 months. Or if you are in a position to pay in full, then there's a £300 discount if you do pay in full before module 2. So make sure you like us and we like you, and then you can go on paying to module 2. So after that, we do other stuff. We do master classes. So I specialise in working with professional, well, not just professional footballers, but professional sports people. But do a lot of stuff with footballers because it's something I know. And we do find your niche marketing weekends. So that helps you to hone down into your particular niche to find your ideal client, because that way you're not fighting against everybody else for clients. You can create your own market. You stop the race to the bottom. So the race to the bottom is who can do this the cheapest. We teach you how to market yourself. You can learn how to stand out from the crowd. We also do self-hypnosis training. So we teach you how to put yourself into trance. We teach you how to teach your clients to do that for themselves, which is a wonderful self-help tool for them. We teach you how to record subliminal messages on your MP3s, and we brush up on your script writing skills. Teach you how to work with groups if you want to work with groups, because it's a bit different working with a group to how it is working one-to-one. And we also have master classes. So we have master classes in things such as parts therapy. So we do a whole weekend on parts therapy. It's a massive subject, so we go into it into greater detail. And regression, age regression again. Age regression, some people are fascinated with past life regression, so we do stuff with past life regression as well. We do masterclasses in fears and phobias, and trauma is a very popular one. A trauma workshop is massive. And again, I mentioned addictions earlier. We're going to go into greater depth with addictions. And that's it. That's it from me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I managed to hit the right button, and you got your code and everything. But we will be sending you an email with the voucher and the links and all the rest of it, just as a thank you. And brilliant. Thank you ever so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you're watching this on replay, please, and you've got any questions, please give us a call. 01803 500 300. Just give me a call, and we can talk anything through. Okay. So thank you, James, Sharon, Mark, Louise, Carol, Victoria, Dave, Eve, and Margaret. Thank you ever so much for giving me your time. You've all stayed, which is brilliant. It's great. Thanks. So it's taken us about an hour, just over. So thank you. And if you've got any questions at all, just pick up the phone, send me an email, and we'll speak soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.